To be honest, I wasn't even aware of that. I missed out on that. Oh, that's so terrible.
Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Belgian Jasper. If this is your first time at the channel, hit subscribe right now.
Rob Van Der Loo. Might be difficult for people in North America to pronounce that properly. I can't imagine how many times somebody mispronounced your name when you were on tour just now.
Yeah. There are only a few people who know how to pronounce it correctly, and then still, there's always somewhere in between.
Yeah, for sure. Now, Rob, talking about North America, just to get started straight away, you just finished a tour of North America with the mentally insane people of Sabaton. We know now from video material that, at least unlike some others in Epica, you were smart enough not to put black tape on your body during the last show. Do you have to be the voice of reason in the band?
Well, to be honest, that was actually my idea. The good thing is that I'm not bald, at least not yet. So the one that is the closest to Joachim regarding looks is probably Koen anyway. So
Yeah.
and I made a stupid remark, like, would it be stupid if you would like bring duct tape, put it all over your head? It's like, yeah, that would be pretty cool. Let's also do this little porn mustache and whatsoever, and then say, you have my blessings, dude. I'm not gonna do it, but be my guest.
Awesome. Yeah, and I saw that Isaac also joined in the fun, so he lost a few chest hairs for sure after that night. On a more serious note, the cool thing about seeing a tour of Epica and Sabaton and being, a very successful tour and doing good size venues in North America, is almost like a testament of something that we're starting to see here in North America for, let's say, the last, I'm gonna say 5 years, that more traditional or more classic heavy metal is back on the rise. In North America, everything tends to be a little bit more modern mainstream rock that gets a lot of popularity. But now we're seeing European metal bands play bigger venues, sell out shows. Is that something you're seeing as well as an artist, that there's a different atmosphere in North America for your music?
Yeah, absolutely. I was also kind of surprised with this tour. Surprised, it sounds perhaps a little bit negative, but in a good way. I mean it. Like how enthusiastic people also were, like more than ever. I mean, it's always been really cool to play in North America, and it's always like a very pleasant audience to play to. But the energy of the crowd was amazing for the whole tour. There was like not a single show that I had to feel like, oh, people are you just like,
right,
just fill up the time a little bit and that's about it. But they were really fanatic, and yeah, there were a lot, like you said, like more European bands are starting to get like build up a certain fan base there as well, because I remember when I joined the band, Epica was still, to name Epica for example, we were mostly playing like a few bigger clubs, and apart from that, especially in the Midwest and everything, that we were mostly playing in sports bars and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah, not even having a dressing room, etc., etc. So after a while, we were actually questioning ourselves, like, should we even be investing in the States anymore? Because I don't know if it's really actually worth it. And through the last, well, like you said, like 5 years, actually, things have gone pretty high.
A really interesting phenomenon that these last few years that you joined Epica, as Epica was, even accelerating. Epica celebrating 20 years. Many bands are always considered, the best time were the first 3 albums and like the early days and what have you. Epica is a band that after 20 years is still getting bigger, is still having more success with albums. And probably the 2 most successful years of the band were the 2 years of the COVID pandemic, where, everything was shut down. Great album, the moment shows were possible, people went crazy for that. With your experience, because it's not that you started playing music when you joined Epica, you have more than your years. Is that still something that really surprises you to see that happen?
Yes and no. On one hand, yes, because we simply didn't know what was going to happen during the pandemic. First of all, it was very unpredictable. First of all, like how long it's going to take. Tours have been postponed, and even now we're still like in January. We're going to do a tour that has been postponed already 4 times at least.
Yeah,
and that's still like officially like the kick-off. Officially, it's still like the kick-off tour for Omega, which is already out for 2 years.
Right.
And yeah, so it was a very weird and unpredictable time, but at the same time, it also gave us the drive to keep pushing, because we know that, I mean, a lot of people were very, almost like paranoid about it, like what the hell are we going to do? And I must say that it actually triggered us to be more creative, to deal with the situation. And what came out of it, I mean, we did the live stream, we did the album release anyway. The live stream was a very good success. It was also a good decision to do that, and also like say like, okay, let's set the bar very high actually. And apart from that, we also did the collaboration project, of course, and that's like we weren't like sitting at home waiting for shows to happen. We were like, okay, what if we already were kind of thinking ahead, like what if it's like really going to be like that we're not able to play live anymore? Like what are we going to do then? So in a way, yeah, I mean, it triggered our creativity in a good way, I must say.
Obviously, next week, as we're talking, is a release that I know that you're very excited about, and that obviously is the return of Effie Kolb and others, the net new Hellboy album that's coming out on Wednesday. Did you put a pre-order in? Because I know that you're a very big Hellboy fan.
No, actually, to be honest, I wasn't even aware of that. I missed out on that. Oh, that's so terrible.
And obviously, we're here to talk about the Alchemy Project coming out next week as well. But before we do that, let's talk a little bit about Hellboy, because I know that you're a big fan, and not only a fan, you have your signature bass, which is also the Hellboy bass. Is it correct that initially that bass was supposed to be named after you, but that you suggested, like, you know what, I don't need my name on it, let's give it a different name, and you suggested Hellboy? Is that true?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, because officially it's still my signature bass, but I thought it would be weird to call the bass like a Dingle D-Rock Hellboy Rob Van Der Loo signature. That's way too long. That's ridiculous. Well, the thing is that Dingle Guitar came with the idea to release a signature bass because we had a collaboration going on for quite some years already, and I was a part of the development of the D-Rock bass. And then they said, yeah, you should get your own version, like your own signature model of that. And one thing they said right away is, we know you're a huge Hellboy fan, there should be some kind of a Hellboy element into it. And my first idea was like, why? Isn't that kind of weird? Isn't that kind of cheesy or whatsoever? So, no, we don't think it's cheesy at all. Think about it, and whatever comes up into your mind or whatsoever, even if it's would be just like a red bass, it doesn't even have to have the name. Later on, I came with the idea perhaps it would be cool to perhaps put my favorite Hellboy cover on the body. And that's when we also got in touch with Dark Horse Comics and with Mike Mignola himself. And eventually we got like a deal with them as well. So it became like an official licensed Hellboy bass. And then we were still discussing the name. I said, like, yeah, screw this, just call it the Hellboy. It's I'm really cool with that.
This is the greatest tribulation.
Not naming it after yourself, is that just because of the name, or is there an element of not really needing to be in the spotlight as a person?
I guess both. To me, it made more sense to call it like I said, the Hellboy, because of the artwork and everything, to make a bit of a statement. And at the same time, I've always had something very weird with signature models anyway, like putting an actual name on it. Like, why? Perhaps I'm a little bit too down to earth about it. I know that they still want to do it, but then still I would probably go for RVDL or something like that anyway, because perhaps it's the typical bass player kind of thing, not necessarily having to be in the spotlight or whatsoever.
Everybody kind of has their role to play in the band, where 20 years ago, Mark would do almost everything, and that has evolved quite a bit, and that becomes a very balanced band, if you will. So besides, telling people in the band to put tape all over their face, what's your role in the band?
Well, first of all, what good is to say is that, and that's something that I was really happy about when I joined the band, is that one of the first things that Mark told me is that we also want your creative input as well. And not necessarily we want it, we want you to actually write as well. In fact, when we're just asking you, we're telling you to write music as well. So it was like, because a lot of people are always kind of misconfusing, like thinking that, well, Mark, of course, he's the guy who started it all. That's for sure. That's for sure. But he doesn't really consider himself a leader or whatsoever. It's like really, it's an actual team of 6 people, 6 creative minds. And it's that chemistry between those 6 people that make Epica special. And he knows that, and that's something he really cherishes. And I really got to give him that. That's something that he really understands, that if you want to have a good band, you really need to have a good team. And that's something like one of the best things about this band, if you ask me. Apart from the other role, I also like because we kind of divide like management tasks. We do have a manager, but he's more like focused on the actual contracts and the numbers and whatsoever. And we are doing the more practical management, to put it that way. And my role is mostly the merchandise.
Okay.
Yeah, so like tour merchandise, web shops, and whatsoever. And that's quite a task, I can tell you. But yeah. But it's very interesting as well, because the thing is also like, I'm also a huge music fan myself. I also buy merchandise, I buy records and whatsoever. So I think that's a really cool thing to do.
You mentioned chemistry between the members, so maybe that's a good segue to the Alchemy Project. So for 20 years, Epica, although there's so many things that happened, like you could say that, everything from the first single that was released, which was Abyss of Time, it kind of was like the start of 20 years celebration almost, and it hasn't stopped. But now we get to the proper special project. You guys invited several people to collaborate with you for the special EP. We get a very eclectic collection of songs where you allowed yourself to try very different things. We see some very heavy sides, we see some very melodic sides. Is there something that through this process that you're also one of the songwriters, was there an element that you kind of discovered or maybe rediscovered that we might see appear more going forward in Epica sound?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest lessons from this project is something that I always already believed in when I joined the band, is that it's always good to think out of the box and not go for the safe way.
Yeah.
And what we as a band learned, and that's something that like I said, I already believed in, but that's something, when you join as a new member in a band and you have new input, people are always a little bit, of course they're open for new ideas, but they're also a little bit careful, because like, hey, we have something that works really well, which I totally understand, let's keep it that way. So if you come with something that's like totally 180 degrees the other way around, then I can understand that people are thinking like, oh, we're not sure if this is going to work. And sometimes you just have to try. And that's the good thing about this collaboration project, and what also like the whole name and artwork already shows, is that it's one big experiment. And I really believe that if you think out of the box, you can still actually in the end sound like Epica. And even though that we did, like you said before, we went all over the place. It went from very heavy to very atmospheric, from classic rock to death metal to whatnot. And even with the input from other people outside of Epica, we were still being able to make it sound like Epica, funny enough. And that's like a more confirmation that we know, well, okay, we can do whatever we want basically, and it still sounds like us. And the good thing is, because if you're making music, it shouldn't be like just a routine, like just making another song. It should be fun as well. It's if people ask me like, what comes first? Is it like, first, do you make music for the fans or for yourself? So the fans are very high on the rank, absolutely. But to be honest, number one is always yourself, because you need to have, if you're not having fun in what you do, you might as well quit.
Now, when you are going on all your new tours and the previous one, you are celebrating, obviously, the Omega album. And apart from, lucky scheduling coincidences on festivals and one-off shows, should fans have any hope to see some of these Alchemy Project songs without the guests, but by Epica performed on stage, or is that wishful thinking?
It could be. I mean, we've discussed it before. We already played like the final lullaby with Jürgen, for instance, and that turned out really well. And he already said like, hey guys, if you have the opportunity to play live and you want to play live, go for it. But right now, I guess it's still like we're still kind of digesting the whole release and and finding a way, like if we're going to do it live, like how we're going to do it, because sometimes you're really depending on the other voices, of course, and that's
right. Yeah,
because like I mean, Charlotte has a very specific voice, so is Amelie, or if you leave out Tommy or you're gonna, I mean, any guest basically.
Yeah,
how the hell are you going to like fill up that gap? So we've been thinking about it seriously. That's not just like that to say, okay, this is just a studio thing. There is an opportunity that we might do some stuff live, perhaps next tour or something. I don't know.
You mentioned Charlotte. I think you'll know where I'm going to go with this question.
Yeah.
Charlotte, obviously being Charlotte Wessels, not a stranger to Epica or the Epica crowd. She was on stage with you as well for the 20th anniversary show recently, and good friends with Simone. Both Charlotte and you obviously have a past in Delain, and it was just announced that you will be, at least at this point, it sounds only as a guest, not as a full member, but playing bass on a new Delain album. In the small world, the small yet extremely talented world of Dutch symphonic metal, is that a little bit like now, like having a family dinner, and that at times gets awkward when it's like, well, you broke up with you, but now I have to hang out with you, but you're still my best friend. Can that be annoying for you, or is everybody a pure professional?
I must say people are very professional about it. I think that people are more, well, with all due respect, annoying from the outside world than really like inside, because
well, fans are passionate. Let's call them passionate.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, in general, fans are actually responding very positively to it. But
yeah.
I remember, for instance, there was a festival we were playing. There was some dude from, I think he was a journalist, but he was filming us during a signing session, and he asked me like very nasty questions. Like he was kind of provoking me to say nasty things about people. I was like, dude, what's the point? I'm friends with Charlotte, and we never had any beef whatsoever. I left the band like when was it again? 2009 or something, and I've been in touch with some of the people all over the years anyway.
Right.
And well, I just as much enjoy working with Charlotte as I enjoy working with the other guys. So that's like I understand that for the outside world is because I mean, of course, they had like a bit of a rough ending, of course, when they broke up. That's definitely true.
Yeah.
I'm not part of that.
No, for sure, yeah.
So in a way, in a way, it was kind of weird. But I also made this I agreed with like both parties to name it. So like, let's just not talk about it. It's like, it is what it is. I'm working with you guys. I'm in good terms with you guys, but I'm also good terms with her. And we're not going to do any gossip or bullshit like that. I know that happens in this world, and I know certain people are more sensitive to it than other people. But like, I must say, like somebody like Charlotte, for instance, she was right away saying like, hey, okay, it is what it is, but we're all cool and no problem whatsoever. So yeah.
Given your t-shirt, I have to ask you, why is Phil Lynott the best bass player of all time? Maybe besides the current Epica bass player, obviously, but...
Oh well, Phil, as a musician in general, is like one of my examples. I'm a huge Thin Lizzy fan, and the way that he was able to play very melodic, he was like almost a kind of a Paul McCartney kind of
swagger,
like Irish dude, heavy rock mixture actually. And I think it was very impressive how he was able to combine like this very melodic and very basic way of playing bass, but being very groovy at the same time, but also being an awesome singer and frontman at the same time. because I'll be honest. I mean, not that I'm a great singer anyway, but singing and bass playing at the same time is quite a task, I can tell you.
Yeah.
Same with Geddy Lee, for instance. I like how that man has done it all over the years. No idea. Phil, one of the things I really like, he's one of the perfect examples. Like, there's always a stereotype thing going with bass players that if you play with a pick, you're basically like just a loser guitar player on the bass, and that's about it. But he's one of the perfect, like, along with bass players like Bobby Vega and Glenn Hughes, he's one of those typical guys who shows that it's not the case whatsoever.
Yeah. I have one of my very good friends is Martin Motnik, the bass player of Accept, and he tells me that for bass players, on the neck of the bass, there's the upper register and there's the cash register. Not every band allows a lot of progressive playing styles for a bass player, but anyway, awesome. Well, Rob, I mean, it's so much fun talking to you, and there's so many exciting times for Epica. It's really cool to see the band being at the level and the momentum that you guys are right now. The new EP's coming out, so much fun. Final question, we have to wrap up with this. On those tours coming ahead, you guys are going to go all over the world again in 2023. What should the fans expect when they come to see your show?
I think you probably can expect in like an extension of the whole Omega Live vibe. That's something that we really like to. Of course, it is like almost impossible to bring the whole production, but
for sure.
Yeah, we're definitely going to, because we really like how the new songs, how they blend in live, and it's going to be a mixture of everything basically. We're kind of thinking of, like, because the South American tour is coming up, and we're also going to do an evening with Epica at a few shows as well.
Yeah.
We still have to catch up with officially with one show for the Design Your Universe tour, because that got cancelled in 2019 as well because of riots in Chile.
Yeah.
So it's we've got a lot of studying to do. So it's going to be like a mixture of everything basically.
Thank you so much for your time today. I really had a good time talking to you, and I wish you all the best with the release next week, and don't forget to order that new Hellboy copy.
Exactly, yeah. Most definitely will.
You are awesome for watching this video. Click right here to see more content like it and subscribe to the channel.